Hello and welcome to today's Confessions of a Global Changemaker show. I am super juiced to bring you the world-class expression expert who is just crushing it with supporting educators and parents to really be the learners that they need to be to lead their children to be learners too. Brandy, welcome to today's show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's so exciting to have you on the show because, you know, we've had a massive variety of people that have come on here and obviously interviewed a lot of people. We've learned a lot of things and been reminded of a lot of things too that are important that we've not been doing. One of the things I'd love to really jump in with you straight away was the conversation we were having about what you wish you would have done in your business when you were growing that business. And I think your lesson is something that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners need to hear. So tell us about your experience in business and some of the things that didn't work so well for you that you wish you could have done differently, or you would do it very differently if you had to do it all again.
Well, okay, for that, my business, let me start by saying that my business is my passion. It started as my passion and started, you know, with writing children's books and developing curriculum and things that I've been doing my whole life, really. And what happened is when I decided to make that a business, I approached it from the standpoint of I'm doing what I love. I would like to get paid for it, as opposed to approaching it from the standpoint of I am ready to begin a business. And that's a very big difference I've discovered, because what happened is when things started to take off for me, I wasn't prepared for it. And all of the minutia and the businessy things, I eventually took on a partner because I had to realize that I'm such a creative soul that I was floundering in running a business. Things like making sure I have a business bank account, not just a bank account that I use for business. And I discovered those are two very different things, and how they're treated is two very different things.
There's a lot of things that we can experience on our journey that, you know, if only somebody had, it's almost like the book on parenting, is it? Yes. It's like, you know, there's so many vast lessons in business, but, you know, your lesson is one that I think a lot of us learn the hard way, where, you know, it's, well, I wish I'd have run my business like a business. Even Bob Doyle from The Secret, when I interviewed him in this very hot seat right now that you're in now, Brandy, he said exactly the same thing. And he says it in the Law of Brand Attraction book as well. He wishes that he'd have run his business like a business, because when you start doing that, you get to express yourself in a whole new way now. And Brandy, you're all about the expression, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what is it about expression that's so important to you? Out of all the things that we could be doing, why is expression so important?
Well, I use expression in the term of your best expression of who you are. You know, when you think about expressions, it's what people see. That's how people view your emotions, and what you're feeling and what you're thinking is through your expressions. And how can we get our outer expression to match our inner selves? How can you become the best version of yourself? Because when you think about your children, and you can tell your children to do all of the things in the world, but they're going to do what they see you doing. You know, and that's why one of the big things that I push with my company, you know, my company is all about education. It's all about learning and creating a learning lifestyle, because it's the idea that learning is not just, it's not like going to work. You don't just learn like you're have a job. You learn because it's breathing. It's part of the expression of who you are. And we want it to be part of our children's expression as well. And that can only happen if they see us becoming our best.
Well, that's true for our children. It's true for our clients, isn't it? Is it true for us to really be the role model that we want to see in the world? As you said before we came on the show, if you want your children to be learners, then they've got to see you learning first. If you want them to be leaders, they've got to see you leading first. This is exactly the same as your clients. You can't expect your clients to be investing in you if they don't see you investing in yourself.
Right.
And it's very challenging to win customers that are, you know, if growth and learning is something that's really important to them, and your business is all about growth and learning and online education or physical, like, events, that, all kinds of things that you could be doing to deliver your information to your audience. If they're not seeing you investing in you, then that's going to be a big challenge that's going to get between you and your customer. There's a lot of people that certainly they've said to me, Sammy, who's your mentor, Sammy? They want to know who it is that you're looking up to. Right. And of course, you're working directly with children, but I think, we're not so different, are we really? We were children. We got experience of being a child once. Getting to that older age.
I work
go ahead.
with adults than I do with children.
Yeah.
Because, and I tell people, and this is one of the differences that I try to explain, is that Exploring Expression is not a tutoring company. We're not here. Now, we do put out, a fair amount of K-12 curriculum. We have unit studies. In fact, we have an entire, coming up at the end of this year and next year, we have an entire year-long curriculum for middle and high school students coming out. But our goal is not to teach your children. Our goal is to teach you how to teach your children.
That's a totally different expression in itself anyway, isn't it? What do you find is the biggest challenge with adults learning then? Because obviously if you're training the adults to go and train their children or teach their children, you're training these adults to become the best expression of a learner so that their kids can become the best expression of a learner. What is, like, do you find that ego is the biggest problem? What's the biggest problem, would you say, that's stopping us from expressing who we really are?
Two things. One, a lot of people don't know where to start. They either have had some negative effects of education or schooling along the way, or especially as your children get older, a lot of parents say, I don't know that enough to teach my child. Think of if you had to try to teach your child math or, ancient history or something like that. A lot of parents say, how can I do this? How can I help them when I don't know that? Right. And this is where helping people become their best expression and turn parents into learners will help your children, because it's the idea that you don't have to know that if you understand your children and you understand how to learn, because the information is out there, especially these days. I mean, the information is out there more than ever. What we do for some of, like in our coaching programs, we help guide parents. We say, let us first help you figure out how your children learn best, because not every child learns the same. And then B, let us help you identify sources that will help you help them. So a lot of people are stuck with the idea that I don't know things and I can't learn new things.
That must have been an incredible challenge for many millions of parents going through Corona. I know several Brand Builders Club members and people that are in the How to Build a Brand group that I've known for a long time who are serving children. There were a lot of them that kind of stepped up and said, okay, well, you're going to have to home educate. How are you going to do that? What are you going to do? Where are you going to get your lesson plans from? The schools were kind of sending the homework out, but parents really didn't, not all parents anyway, knew what they were meant to do or how to keep those kids engaged. I mean, I absolutely applaud you. Like, how many of you have got kids? that you're also running a business and you've had kids at home, homeschooling through lockdown. If I had a hat on, I'd be raising it to you. Honestly, I just don't know how you've managed to do everything that you do, because I find it challenging, and I don't even have that.
And there's a big component of time management with what we do. You know, I do quite a bit of public speaking, and one of the speeches that I give more often than others is it's called Maximizing Your Effectiveness, Making the Most of Your Time. And one of the things we help people understand at Exploring Expression is that it's all about intentionality. You know, and it all goes back to being intentional. And I've gotten a lot of people that, you know, say, how do you find the time to do that? You know, because I'm in the same boat. I'm a single mother. I have children. I have a special needs child. I'm running a business. I work an additional job as well, full time. And it's, how do you find the time to do everything that you need to do? And I tell them the same thing I tell myself, is that you don't. You will never, ever find the time to be the best that you need to be. You have to make it. You have to make it. So.
I love that.
Where's the hammer?
It's one of your kids now.
I'll come after this. I love you.
So, okay, I'm going to get that on the screen right now. I love that. You'll never, ever find the time to be the best that you can be. You have to make the time.
And if it's important, you will.
Right. It's that importance, isn't it? It's that importance. It's but not getting to the precipice before you make that decision. We've had that conversation on one of the shows, either yesterday or the day before. It was, you know, why do we get to this point where the problem is massive before we actually just say enough, you know, and start changing the way that we're doing things? What would you say, as you've been growing your business, Brandy, what would you say was like one of the biggest things that was you see as being a mistake?
Initially, when I first came out with my first book, and I thought that was going to be it. And then I had all of these beautiful ideas. You know, I call it an idea later. Someone once called it, where I have thousands and thousands and thousands of ideas. And they're all great ones to me, right? And so I just started doing them. I'm like, okay, well, that's a great idea. Let's do this. Well, let's make this. This is a great idea that could go with the book. And this goes back to not treating my business as a business from the beginning. I got all of a sudden, instead of somewhere I got from there to here, instead of being about learning and being about education and being about the books and mental health and all of these things, I found myself making handmade jewelry. Because I had an idea that led to an idea that led to an idea, and I quickly got out of the point of what I was doing. And I think that's the, you know, I think if I could tell myself back then, it would be more of a write it down, rein it in, and then let's pick a couple of days. So now my business partner and I get together once a month, and we look at this list, because I still have those, and I still, you know, I write all my little ideas down in my book and send them to her, and we sit and look at those, and we say, okay, how many of those actually speak to the vision of the business?
That's key.
Are just interesting.
Yeah, and having that other person to bounce that off with is really good. I mean, that's what we say to our Brand Builders Club members is just, you know, if you're in business on your own, or you don't feel like you can talk to the person at home about what you're doing, or you feel like they're going to try and give you advice, or they're going to be judgmental about it, reach out to somebody else, or reach out in the Brand Builders Club and say, hey, I've got this idea. What do you think? And, you know, we'll tell you honestly, if it's not going to make the boat go faster, stick it in the ideas box, like Brandy just said. Stick it in the ideas box, because you could open up so many loops. I don't know who it was that said it, but I somebody, when I was educated, I'm always learning. And I remember somebody once said, you've got to start closing loops. And now I think of everything as a loop. If you start something, you've got an open loop. And then you start something else, you've got another open loop. And so you've got no closure on any of those things. And it's just more and more and more and more things that actually, that's what creates overwhelm. When we feel that we're overwhelmed, it's usually because we've started too much before we've started finishing things. If you start finishing them, you'll feel really great. But, finish small things. Don't try and make things so big that you can't possibly achieve it, because it's going to stay an open loop. And that can really peck away at your head. Like, how many of you have got a to-do list that's got things on your to-do list that you still haven't done yet, and they've been on there for a long time? It happens, right? Do you find, Brandy, that the entrepreneurs that you hang around with, do you find that there's a lot of people that talk about, like, they express the fact that I want to have this thing, but they're running their businesses the same way you did, and that they're not taking the action that's actually going to drive them? Do you find a lot of people they get distracted, squirrels everywhere?
It depends on the person. I do find a lot of people that have squirrels. I find a lot more that that are more from the line of, they have something that they love and they don't know, now what do I do with it? I'm coaching this one lady on, she's writing a book, and she has a children's book that she wants to write. And I'm kind of coaching her through that. And we met not long ago, and I asked her, I said, well, do you know who you sell? Who's going to buy your book? And she says, well, my book is for small children. And I said, no, you sell children's books to parents. And if you don't go into the writing of a children's book with the understanding that it's great, if you just want to write a book and have it sit on your shelf, that's a wonderful thing, go do that. But if you want it to do something with it, you have to start. And I didn't do this in the beginning. I'm speaking from a point of, don't make my mistake. My very first book, Tip and Ben Find a Friend, I wrote and I published, and it was beautiful, and I loved it and they loved it. But I didn't understand that once the 150 people in my town buy this book, then what do you do? You have to have more than that. And that's part of going back and think. And I see this with a lot of entrepreneurs, that they have a wonderful product, but they don't know who they want to actually sell their product to. And I see the same thing, not just with entrepreneurs, but with parents teaching their children. They say, hey, I would love to teach my child about, I would love to teach my child about history. And I say, well, what does that mean? All history? You don't have that kind of time. You have to.
I love that. Well, I mean, that's true. Even for, we've just literally run a live session just before I came on here in the Brand Builders Club, and we were talking about marketing strategy. And one of the things was, out of all the things you could talk about, what's the one thing you need to really laser in on that's going to take your boat? What's going to make the boat go faster? It's going to move the needle on your business, by getting really clear on exactly what it is. What's the call to action? What do you want them to do? And it sounds like it's the same when you're looking at the children's books, or any book really. If the book is for the child, but the parents are going to buy it, it's almost like you need to make the book as enjoyable for the adult as you do for the child. Yes. So that the adult can get into character and can enjoy it as well.
Yes, exactly. And, as someone who's read thousands and thousands and thousands of children's books, I can tell you that no matter how much my son enjoys it, if I don't like it, I will not read it, and it won't be on his shelf.
That's a really key thing.
And the same with if you're building curriculum and if you're trying to help your children become learners, if you hate it, you're not going to like it. You're not going to want to teach it. And so it's how do you help yourself understand that these things are important and that these things are interesting, that this world is an interesting place. We just have to look at it that way.
Brandy, in your obviously like the oracle of experience where it comes to this self-expression topic. Is there a strategy? Is there, 1, 2, or 3 things that someone can do to get started in really focusing on their expression in a much more authentic way to themselves? Because maybe they're being authentic to all their customers, but actually to ourselves, we're not being that authentic expression in here.
Well, a couple of things. One of which, obviously, I wrote the guided journal all about that.
Oh, yes. Let's get that up on the screen.
Yes, it's called 90 Days to Your Better Expression. And there's actually going to be a course coming out as well with it. And this is what it's for. It takes you through 3 stages. I call it evaluation, evolution, and exploration. And it helps you not just understand where you come from, but begin to change that mindset to one of a learning lifestyle and one of growth. And there's a whole section in there about how to understand what your plan that you want really is, and not just understand it, but then how to take measurable steps and know how to get there. So, that's the one thing. The other thing I say, and I say this constantly to everyone I meet, learn something new every day. Learn something new every single day. And I have a journal that I have for kids and adults, both have used it, called 100 Things I Didn't Know Before, my learning journal. And that's what it's for. It's nothing else but simply the idea that start intentionally, because it's all about intentionality, learning something new every single day until it becomes like breathing, until you can't go to bed. I tell my kids, if it's time for bed and you haven't learned something today, get up. Learn something, then go back to bed.
And what kind of things would we be on a mission to learn? It's just like, it might be a new word, or it might be like, how big do we go on that?
Anything. You have to start somewhere. It's the idea that whatever you're learning is worth knowing. Speak to somebody you haven't spoken to. Watch a YouTube video. One of my favorite YouTube channels is all about geography, called Geography Now. And every day I watch things, and I don't understand half of it, and I probably don't retain 2/3 of it. However, I always get something new that's like, oh, isn't that interesting? And it helps us begin to look at the world as interesting.
Yeah, curiosity.
And that's what we want for our children. How many kids or how many parents have I come across that they're saying, all my kid wants to do is play Minecraft. All my kid wants to do is watch Fortnite. And I tell them, now then, how can we use that? How can we use that to teach them something else? How can we use that? Right now, my youngest son is all about superheroes. That's all he cares about. And so next year for our homeschool, I've designed this entire curriculum all based on superheroes. Because if he can understand that I can learn something new through what I love, then he'll become a learner. And the same thing for entrepreneurs.
So important, with having any kind of learning. I mean, like, how many of us really want to learn something if we don't enjoy it? You just like, you're forced to do it, isn't it? And that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. So, Brandy, what's your next step? Because obviously you've got this. Let's get it back on the screen again. You've got 90 days to your better expression guided journal and course that's going to be launching on the 1st of August. So that's all about becoming the best version and the best expression of who you are. So that's coming out. How else can somebody connect with you? Like what would be the one thing that if we were stood in a coffee shop overhearing someone complaining about something, or they were stressed, they were in distress because they don't have this thing in their life, what would you want us to say about you? Like, what would they be saying, and what would we say about you to say you've got to talk to this amazing lady?
Come here. You okay? Sorry.
Hello.
We're live on Facebook.
Welcome to the show.
Go sit in the chair. Okay. Part of being a single mother, working from home.
Right. So what would we overhear someone saying that you could fix?
We offer coaching and consulting services. So if you don't know where to start, if you don't know where to start in your business, or you don't know where to start managing your household, or you don't know where, especially if you don't know where to start helping your children become learners, we offer coaching for that. And
so what would if I was overhearing two parents talking and they were having a conversation about something that's really distressing for them, what would they be saying where I would say, I have to refer you to Brandy because she does this amazing stuff? What would I overhear them expressing about their problems?
Frustration. That they don't understand why their kids won't get it, or frustration that they have to, maybe they have something that they want to get out. They have this idea for a book, or they have this idea for a course, and they don't know how to take it from here to there. Exploring expression is the bridge. It's the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. Because a lot of people, they just see like this glimmer of something. I have this idea, but I don't know what to do now. My kids are suddenly home. I know I don't want to send them back because, coronavirus, but I don't know what I'm going to do with them. This is where we help. This is where we can step in. And we not only do the coaching, but at the end of it, we give you like a summation and a roadmap, and we can say, start here. If you don't know where to start, we can help you start. If you're having problems, not just with the 90 days, but we do a lot with mental health. Most of my children's books deal with mental health for children. In fact, I have.
Do you find that with your own child having learning difficulties, for example, do you bring a lot of that into your learning because it's a personal experience?
I do. And, I have 3 children and they all learn very differently. I am not a homeschool soldier. My oldest daughter graduated from public school. That's what she needed. What we are here for is to say, figure out your child. Let us help you figure out your child and steer them to what they need. But you have to start by steering you to what you need. And it comes from, I not only have a son with autism, but I have, a mother with bipolar, and I have a brother with PTSD. I'm surrounded by mental health issues. I've grown up with it, and now as a parent, I have, I deal with it. We don't talk about that to our children enough. And a lot of people don't know how. And, in these days, these are scary times. Scary times. And these are times when children are developing mental health issues at a faster rate because they're scary times.
I think there's a much more conscious connection to source that's happening as well. My nephew, he gets very upset about environmental issues. Like, he's 7. 8 years old, you know, and I'll be chatting to my brother, and you know, I'll say, what's up with Ethan today? And he's really upset because you know, he's worried about global warming, or you know, it'll be like a really conscious issue that he genuinely is consumed with overcoming, you know, this overwhelming emotions that's flooding through him. I think he's genuinely scared about what's happening in the world. I think you know, what is that? Is that because our kids are learning about that in school? You know, or how are they, how is it that they're so much more conscious than we were at that age?
Because it's everywhere. Because it's everywhere. Give me just a second. Go on, no. Talk in a second, please. Okay, thank you. Because you can't escape it. You know, when we were young, there wasn't, you know, we didn't have the internet, and we didn't have some channels, but we didn't have as many. And they can't open their eyes without being bombarded by all of this. And it's a good and a bad. You know, on one hand, information is at their fingertips at all times, and they can learn anything they want about anything. But on the other hand, information is at their fingertips at all times.
Yeah.
And so they're having to learn how to process things as 7-year-olds that we didn't have to learn how to process till we were adults.
No, that's quite an interesting topic, actually, isn't it? I'd not really thought about it until we started having this conversation. I mean, what is the best way to deal with our kids that are becoming very consciously aware at a very young age? You know, are we to, I don't know, how are we to deal with that? You know, because you don't want to say to them, oh, now don't worry about it, all will be well, because they're intelligent human beings even at that age. They know when you're bullshitting them. They totally know it. They've got their bullshit filter. The radar is up constantly. You know, they're always asking why. why, right? And they have this curiosity, and we want to keep them in that curious state. Oh, we don't want to squash that curiosity, but at the same time, we don't want to scare the shit out of them either. Right. So how do you deal with that?
Well, at Exploring Expressions, I write children's books. So like this, it's called Parents That Sat a Stallion. This is about depression. It's about, as a child, so it's about this horse has depression, and it's about this little girl trying to figure out, how do we help our friend who's sad and we don't know why? You know, I have a book coming out, a children's book coming out in a couple of months called Little Lion Makes a Roar, and it's about anxiety. You know, with each of those, it begins with talking to them and being okay with talking to them. You know, growing up, if we had hard questions, our parents were like, don't worry about it. You know, I know my parents were, you know, these are adult things, we'll tell you when you're older. Well, that doesn't work anymore.
No.
As parents, we have to be able to have honest discussions with our children, but on their level, on the level that, and that has to start with understanding, A, your child, and B, understanding yourself. Because if you don't understand what you're feeling and where it comes from and who you are, it makes it that much harder to then communicate with your child who also doesn't understand. You know, our kids need to know that, yes, we're afraid too, and that's okay. These are scary times, and it's okay to be afraid.
Yeah, I think more now than ever before, we have a duty to really bring our own integrity to the conversation, to stop putting the lid on it, and to you know, Greg, with all of our kids, his kids, my stepkids, he's always talked to them as adults. He's never ever done the coochie coochie goo sort of thing. He's just not that kind of person. But you know, he's always talked to them as adults. He talks to our animals We've got 4 dogs and 2 cats on the boat. You know, he talks to them like little human beings. You know, he just has that way of being able to communicate with anyone. And I think that's the most important skill that we have a duty to master out of every skill that we could learn, is communication,
and
in an talking,
but listening. You know, so I have a book coming out in November. I think it's November, called "Hearing Is Not Enough: A Guide to Being a Better Listener." Yeah, we're very busy here at Exploring Expression. Once we gained focus, once I stopped chasing squirrels, and once I realized this is a business, we're taking off like a rocket.
Excellent.
Yeah, because
that tends to be what happens. You get focused on your vision and you create a brand message that goes with it, and you make that commitment to, okay, that all those things, they're great, but they're squirrels. This is the thing. We've got 1 million families out there right now that are struggling with depression, anxiety, overwhelm, maybe PTSD, all kinds of different learning difficulties, autism. And it's our duty to step up and support them with that. Well, that you've just gone. As we say in the industry, it's a niche that is an inch wide.
Yes.
But it's a mile deep.
Yes.
And you've just totally honed and focused in. And you've got all these books that are solving the problems that real parents have, real problems for real people. And that's ultimately, I think, what we've got to do as brand builders is making sure that we are connecting in that way. And like you say, communication is also about listening as much as speaking.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like other than obviously not listening, what would you say is the biggest communication faux pas that business owners are making ever? Like what do you think that number one thing is?
As communication goes?
Yeah.
Not meeting people where they're at. And it goes, you know, that statement has so many implications. Because you know, you have to understand that not everybody is your customer, right? But the ones that are, you have to meet them where they are and not where you want them to be.
We were just literally talking about this on the training before. Yeah, very true.
And I think, you know, I talk about that from not just communication, but from a dealing with issues out of your past and with people around you, that we have to learn to love people for who they are, not who we want them to be. Because a lot of times we put our own sense of what should be on our family and on our friends and on our past and on our customer base and our clients. You know, not everybody loves math like I do. Not everybody, you know, we have a game that we play in my children and I that talks about what happened in this year. And they'll throw out a year, and then we'll have this whole discussion about, based on what we know about every other time, what could have happened in that year. It's very boring to a lot of people. You know, they're like, what? What we do at Exploring Expression is we help people find out, where are you? Where are you at? And help you understand that not everybody is at that place. So how do you communicate with somebody? How do you form that bridge? Because we're all about building bridges with somebody who's not necessarily where you're at.
It's a key skill to master, is that one.
Yes,
it's very easy. It's what I call expert syndrome. You know, we've mastered it already. We're living the life, or we have the business that somebody wants, or we have the connection with our kids that other people all over the world want to have, or, you know, we have whatever that thing is, usually because we've mastered it ourselves. Even if it's a product that you're selling, you will have come across that product because you were looking for something for a reason, and you happen to have found it. You know, you've got this treasure and you want other people to have access to it. But if you can't communicate what that is, and you can't communicate well about it, and you also don't understand why you would want it at that level, then how are you going to meet people where they're at the level where you really, really want them to be, like where you are? You can't just, I think the key thing really is to step back into the past. Even if it's painful, you just have to go there. You have to step back and remember, what was it like when you first started going through that, or when you first experienced it, or when you started looking for that? What pain were you going through? What did it feel like? What made you sad? What really annoyed you? What frustrated you the most? What was it about that experience that kept you still going through that experience and not getting help with it sooner?
Right.
Because all of your clients, they're experiencing that at that level. And if you don't understand it at that level, you're not going to get them to understand it at this level where you actually are.
Right.
There's a lot of people where they're at.
There's a lot of people that were thrust into a homeschool situation, you know, and I remember I didn't get into homeschooling my children by choice. I love learning, but, you know, I came through the public school system, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with it until I had a child with autism.
Yeah.
That could not cope in a public school system. I mean, we've tried several times, she just couldn't. And then all of a sudden, I found myself a single mother with a child and a full-time job that couldn't go to school. And, you know, so now that I'm living, and there's a lot of stumbling from there to here, you know, and I talk about in one of my videos, I talk about that everybody has to go through fire to get where they're at. You know, everyone comes somewhere and everyone has their fire they have to walk through. That it's important to, you know, as I'm developing training and as I'm developing curriculum and as we're developing these resources, it's important for us to remember that not everybody chooses the path. We don't always get to choose our path. But by understanding who we are and developing this learning lifestyle, we can direct it. You know, our path can lead us where we want to go, even if we have to walk uphill the whole way to get there.
Yeah. I've just been trying to look across different pages on here because we've got an excellent comment from somebody who is called Facebook user right now. I'm trying to find out who you are that's left this amazing comment. Please put your name in the comments. You need to click on the link with the video so that it will allow you to display your name. But this is a brilliant comment nonetheless, whoever you are. It says, yeah, always address your clients' needs, not what you think they need. Just worked with an amazing lady who is the polar opposite to me, and I wouldn't have been able to work with her if I was wanting or expecting her to respond like I do.
Yes,
very true. You know, and I think quite often what we also do is we attract people like ourselves when actually the polar opposite could be the best client for you. Try and get more people like you. Oh, Judith Quinn. Hi, Judy Q. Barbara, you are welcome. She says, thank you for all the golden nuggets today, ladies. Brilliant. Well, Brandy, it's been amazing to have you on the show. I could talk to you all day and really dig into the other stuff you're doing. I love all the children's books. I love your mission, the vision that you have for it, the impact that you're making in the world. I just think is extraordinary. How can our viewers and listeners get in contact with you, or how can they find out about these books and your challenge and the journal, how do they find out about all this stuff? If you can tell me so I can put it in a banner up on the screen and then read it out for our listeners today.
Absolutely. Well, first off, they can go to my website. That's exploringexpression.com.
Exploring Expression.
All one word. Mm-hmm.
Yep. .com.
I'm also on Facebook at Exploring Expression. We're on Twitter at XXEXEXadmin. We're on Instagram.
Oh gosh, I'm going to remember that. I think let's give them just a couple of calls to action. I think will be good for those that are listening in while they're driving. I don't think they're going to retain it.
Exploring Expression. Come to our website, exploringexpression.com. You can get to all of the other avenues through that. You know, one of the things with my children's books is I create workbooks and activity books and lesson plans. You know, we're all about learning with everything that we do. And reach out to us on Facebook. We are extremely active on Facebook and would love to connect. And anyone that needs, anyone that needs help or just wants to connect, we're here for people. We're here to help people become their best expression.
Thank you, Brandy. It's been so exciting to find out more about you as well. We met via Facebook, so we have Facebook to thank for this incredible journey that we're now on. You really have stepped up and shone your light for all of our listeners and viewers today. So thank you so much. And thank you to those of you who have tuned in to listen in or to watch the show. It's time to go and have a freaking awesome weekend. It is Friday. It is Friday. It is time to
America.
Yes. Oh, is it? It's a holiday as well. Guys and girls, what are you up to this weekend? Let us know in the comments. And if you're listening in, make sure you come to Facebook and tune in and drop it in the comments as well. Luana says, hi, Brandy, you are brilliant. I would love for you to connect with Teresa Wright Johnson and the work that she is doing with mental wellness, particularly with children. Please instant message me. So there you go. If you don't know each other yet, then you definitely need to. And if you've resonated with any part of the show today, please reach out to Brandy at exploringexpression.com. I've put an extra E in there. Let me just take that out. I've just noticed it as I was reading it on the screen there. There we go. That's better. Exploringexpression.com, or find her on Exploring Expression on her Facebook page. It has been a pleasure to serve you for another week. This is our 5th day of the week. It's we are going to start interspersing these shows. I've been going live every day throughout Corona, and now we're getting to a point where we've done way over 100 shows now in the last 6 months. So we're going to be turning all these shows into podcasts and getting them out in a much bigger way. So if you are interested in having your butt in the hot seat, then do reach out to me. Send me an instant message. Let's see if we can get you on the show. And Brandy, thank you so much once again for taking the time out from your family to come be with us and support us with ours. You are a treasure. Thank you. Take care, guys and girls. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Have an amazing weekend. And if you're going to attend the Burning Woman Festival online, do look out across my groups and on my personal page, because I will be sharing information about how you can get involved. I'm very much looking forward to supporting Olivia with her event. So take care. Mwah, big love, and I will see you in the group. Bye bye.